to our new health show. Thika Methodist Church has many working departments, and one of the very strong departments is the health department. In the past, they have been involved in awareness in many areas regarding health. In this new normal, we have come up with a new way of reaching out to you. Today, with us here, we have a gentleman who will be talking to us about nutritional management of diabetes and immunity boosting during COVID-19. My name is Purity Kinyua. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. I'm Kariuki Joseph, your clinical nutritionist or dietitian. Today, I'm able to be with you and communicate to the church members about immunity and diabetes management. Thank you.
We are talking about immunity of the body.
Sure.
I'm interested to know, when we talk about immunity of the body, what are we actually referring to?
Well, immunity refers to the ability of the body to fight off infections or diseases. So immunity is an inborn thing. So a majority, or actually all of us, are born with that innate immunity, so that we have the ability to fight off these diseases. So basically, that's what immunity talks about. And
what is the immune system?
Now, immune system comes in. Immune system now, it is a combination of now the systems that work against fighting these infections. Once we talk of immunity, it has different roles in the body. One is to prevent infections. 2 is to fight off these infections. 3 is to destroy these infections in case our body is under attack.
So when we say low immunity, we are saying a person is not able to fight off what you have talked about.
Exactly, that is it.
Okay,
yeah.
Nice. And now you are a nutritionist,
yeah.
A clinical nutritionist.
Sure.
Now, we would be interested to know, how does the food we eat contribute to the immunity of our bodies?
Okay. Basically, when we talk of a good nourished body, it means that the food that you're taking has all the nutrients, the minerals, the vitamins that help the body to build this immunity. So in case someone takes foods that are not providing these nutrients, the immunity starts becoming weakened. And consequently, in case of an infection, the body is not able to fight off that infection.
So in this era or this disease pandemic we are fighting right now, what are some of the foods that can help us to fight those nutrients that can help us to either build our immunity or fight the disease in case we find ourselves attacked?
Okay.
Yes.
So when you talk of good nutrition, all these foods, it is not an overnight process. So you don't build your immunity by eating 1 meal or 2 meals. So it is something that you've been doing for a long period of time. So, and when we talk of good foods, basically the natural occurring foods, basically what we grow in our pieces of land, that basically constitutes the best foods that we should eat and that build our immunity. For instance, when you talk of fruits, all type of fruits, okay? When you talk of green leafy vegetables, all vegetables, okay? So those are some of the foods that are actually very key in building our immunity, okay? Then the other aspect is what we call, are you getting enough? Because again, when you say eating fruit and vegetables, it doesn't mean that you do away with other foods like the carbs. They are again very important in our body, and the proteins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so that means that what some of us don't like to take is what actually builds our immunity.
Yeah, I think most people lack the information, and they think that eating what you call the junk,
the fast foods.
The fast foods.
Fast foods.
Yes, chips, chicken. Yeah. So I'm not saying that eating that food is bad, but the amount of food that you eat actually makes the difference. Because it doesn't make sense to eat a whole plate of chips for your lunch. Yes?
Must be balanced.
It should be balanced.
Food should be balanced.
Have your vegetables there, have your fruit, okay? Yeah.
Okay, so now how does disease, or in this particular case, COVID-19, cause the body to lose immunity?
Okay.
How does that happen?
Okay. Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So, in case the body becomes infected, or in case you have a disease, there are those things that will definitely manifest. One, if you're sick, you have maybe vomiting, diarrhea, loss of appetite, decreased food intake. So once you've eaten and vomited, basically what you've done, you have lost nutrients. So if you've taken a plate, then you've vomited, so basically you have not eaten anything. If you diarrhea, again, you are losing nutrients. Okay. If you don't have appetite, you are not eating enough. So, and you've said for you to build your immunity, you must have good foods. You must be well nourished. So if you have an infection or a disease, your eating pattern will change. And you will not be able to eat.
Yeah.
So consequently, your immunity becomes weakened. And in case you have an infection, it becomes worse.
Because the food you're eating is not the normal size,
portion,
portion.
Yes. Or it is not retained.
Yes.
So it is not utilized.
I hear you.
Yes.
I hope you're learning at home, and we continue to learn with Mr. Kariuki. Now, Mr. Kariuki, I know you have mentioned vitamin A, B, Z, C. Could you tell our viewers which are these foods, probably by naming the names? Like, we know the kinds of foods that are available within, around us. Could you guide our viewers on exactly what kind of foods we need to take so that we build our immunity when we lose it, or when we didn't know and we want to start building?
Okay.
Yes.
Well, to break it down, I know it becomes a bit complex when you talk of vitamin C, vitamin A, zinc, iron, folic acid, vitamin E. So basically, those vitamins, those minerals, they are actually, in our African setup, we are so blessed that actually most of these things we can get them in the foods that we eat every day. For instance, when you talk of the vitamins, all the fruits from oranges, bananas, tangerine,
pineapple indica. Yeah, pineapples, we have many.
Yeah, watermelon, pomegranate, strawberry, cherries, all those fruits. So basically, now what makes people get confused, when we are naming them, yes, there are so many, so at least we are not saying that you eat all of them at the same time. Okay, so it's the issue of, if you can get a banana today, in the afternoon get a piece of pineapple, tomorrow get an orange, get an apple. Okay, so you should have at least every day you're doing a fruit, and fruits are actually very cheap. With 15 bob, with 10 bob, with 20 bob, you can get a fruit. You mentioned portions. Yes. Give us a portion that would be enough to give the body proper nutrients, like a saucer, a whole plate, a dish. What are the normal portions, and how many times per day? So when you talk of portions, when I'm referring to fruits, apart from people who have maybe some other comorbid conditions, which maybe we shall discuss later, I don't like giving limitation to fruits, because apart from things like bananas, I think they are in plenty. Very much. So you cannot eat a whole bunch of banana surely. It won't make a lot of sense. Okay? So a fruit, if you take like a banana, you take one, an apple like one. Okay? A pineapple, you don't have to take the whole bit of it. Yes. Just a portion. Yeah. A portion that will do you good. The other things that are actually rich in the minerals, they are the cereals. Before you go to the minerals, yes, can we be safe to advise our viewers that every time one gets an opportunity to eat a fruit, they just eat? Yes. Actually, there is what we call snacking. Snacking, the normal snacking we used to is once you feel hungry,
Mandazi.
you get a dazi, a cup of soda, a glass of soda,
yes.
and all those
Yes.
junk things. So we call, now you should do what you call healthy snacking. So when it is saine, you can have a banana. When it's at sakumi, you can have an orange. Okay. So in between the meals, put your fruits inside there. So we don't encourage you eating food with fruits. Yes.
Okay.
So, but in between the meals,
In the meals.
yeah. So like what we call the 10 o'clock tea, have fruit instead of taking tea.
Good.
Yes, that would actually increase the frequency on which you are taking those fruits.
You heard that? Healthy snacking. Now, Mr. Kariuki,
Yes.
We are focusing on diabetes
Yeah.
in this during COVID-19. We've heard that people suffering from diabetes are more vulnerable to COVID-19. Maybe you could start by telling us what is diabetes mellitus? It's quite a mouth, mellitus.
So diabetes mellitus, it's a condition where your body is not able to regulate the amount of sugar in your body. So now this can be caused by two things. Either your body is not producing enough insulin to control the amount of glucose or sugar, or your body is not able to utilize the sugar in your blood. Okay, so now that sugar is left circulating in your blood. So, okay, so it is a condition that affects quite a good number of people, especially from 40 years and above. Although now we have had cases of still young population still getting that condition.
My question would be, are there some habits that one engages in early in their life that cause us to lose function of,
pancreas.
the pancreas, not able to produce insulin?
yeah.
Or is it genetic? What actually is the cause of diabetes?
The number one cause is genetics. You find that if a certain family, or maybe a certain family, if the immediate kin, your mother, your father, if they had that condition, your chances of developing the same condition
Is
are actually
high.
very high.
Is high.
Okay. Still, there are those who, in their family, they have never had a case of diabetes, but they end up developing diabetes.
Yes.
Okay. Then, but lifestyle actually plays a very big role in how fast this diabetes will come about. So if you learn that in your family you are predisposed to diabetes, you should actually be more careful as compared to their population, because your chances of developing this condition is
very
high. So now, if your lifestyle, I would say it's not very disciplined.
Yes.
Again, you develop the condition maybe very early in life.
Lifestyle meaning the foods we eat,
Yes.
the foods we take in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So lifestyle, basically, I would like to define it like the things we do every day. What you eat, what you drink, the kind of job you do, how you manage your stress, how you sleep,
all those.
That is basically the lifestyle.
So what you eat makes you maybe overweight.
Yes.
Okay.
The kind of job you do,
Yeah.
if it is sedentary, if you are the office person, so you get from the house to the car to the office, you sit the whole day. Nowadays, the food are brought in the offices. You don't have to go to an eatery. Then at 5, you get to your car, you get back home. That is a sedentary form of lifestyle. So now the amount of food you are eating, as much as you think that food should help you, now that food will work against you, because you'll end up being obese. And once you become obese, again, your level, the chance of getting diabetes, they actually double.
Now we know what diabetes is all about,
Yes.
what it is. Now, what is the relationship between diabetes and COVID-19?
Okay.
Most of us have heard about it, and we are telling all our relatives who are predisposed to that condition. And friends, please be careful. Please be careful. What is the relationship?
Basically, when we talk of a flu like COVID-19, the best thing that our body can do is to have immunity at its optimum. Okay?
Yes.
So the immunity should not be compromised even an inch. So now, with these diabetic patients, we have so many of them who are very disciplined. They follow their medication very well. They adhere to the dietary modifications that they have to do.
Yes.
They adjust their lifestyle. So, and most of those people, they don't have any diabetic complication. So even the immunity it's good.
Yeah.
There are those others, and sorry to say this, so many diabetic patients who they only fast when they are going for their clinic, so that when the random blood sugar is done, the doctor will be like, yeah, okay, your sugar is good. But in the real sense, they have not been disciplined to their medication. They are not eating what they are supposed to eat. Okay? So that person, as much as you're going to lie to your healthcare provider,
Yes.
your immunity is at stake. So in case now you contract COVID-19, your body will not have the ability to fight off that infection,
Yes.
because already your immunity is
compromised. Yes.
Yes, but there is no like a condemnation that if you have diabetes, that you'll succumb to COVID, because there are those who are very disciplined, their sugars are controlled, and they live the normal lifestyle like a person who is not does not have that condition.
So the issue here is having diabetes, but at the same time, the immunity levels, even if you have diabetes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and basically, what we should get is, as we are saying, you cannot build immunity within a day.
I hear you.
Yes. So there are those who have had diabetes for the longest time possible, and they have managed it very well.
Yes.
So that person, the immunity is as good as mine or yours.
Good.
Yes.
Now, what are some of the tests that one can that can be done to establish the presence of diabetes
Okay.
in our bodies?
Okay. So there are 3 tests that should be done. So one is a random blood sugar. So random is like, as we are sitting now, we have a glucometer, we take the sugars. That is not a very good indicator. We cannot use it to make a diagnosis. But it should actually it should indicate something is right or not. Yes.
Yes.
But whatever is more precise, it's what you call a fasting blood sugar, where you are not supposed to eat for 12 hours, maybe overnight, then during morning you go and have. We call it a fasting blood sugar. Again, there is another known as A1C. Okay, that one is done in the lab. It checks your sugar for the last 3 months. Now that is more definitive, and it should actually now make the clinician rule out whether it is diabetes or not diabetes.
You mean there are situations that can make you have, let me call it for lack of better language, temporal diabetes, or a short term?
Yeah, there are those people who have a condition called pre-diabetes. For instance, now, if you have taken lunch like 2 hours ago, then we do your random blood sugar, your sugars will be high.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Then if you have not eaten for like, say 5 hours, we take your sugars will be
Low.
So that cannot be like a good diagnostic tool to say that you are diabetic.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And once somebody has been found to be diabetic, is there a way somebody can, let's say, test themselves, self-monitoring for that matter? Can one do self-monitoring at home?
Yeah, so once you've been confirmed that you are diabetic and you're on medication and you're on dietary modifications, it's always good to do self-monitoring. Now, these will tell you whether your sugars are controlled or your sugars are not controlled. And again, when you talk of, say, dietary modification, whatever works for you may not work for the other person. Okay? So now, it's always good to keep that record, that once I ate this, okay, then after a while, once I did my sugars, they what? This. Okay? Once I did this, these were the ranges. So now, with that data, when you go share with your healthcare provider, it will be easy now to make changes either on the dosage of your drugs, on dietary modification, or some other things that can be causing these sugars either to be high.
Sure.
Yeah, because there are other things that happen in our bodies, like infections, for instance, like UTI, it will make your sugars to go high. You are doing your medication well. You are observing your diet. But again, once you test your sugars, they are still persisting. They are high. So again, that should inform your doctor something is not
wrong.
Yeah, something is wrong. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Kariuki, what are some of the ways in which diabetes is managed?
Okay. So diabetes can be managed in quite a good number of ways. One is drug therapy.
Yes.
So if your doctor is right that you should start anti-diabetics,
Yes.
that's what he or she will do. The dosage. Then as you progress,
Yeah.
you can either change the drugs. If your condition is so advanced, they might decide to start you on insulin. Okay.
Yes.
So that is one way of management. The other way of management is dietary modification, which is very key. So diet modification, it sounds as if it's a very easy exercise, but diet is like it's a habit. There are those who are used to, once you wake up in the morning, you have a cup of tea, some 5 slices of bread, and you have done that for the last...
Which are buttered.
Yes. So you have done that for the last 30 years. So now it's like a habit. So now breaking that habit becomes a very big challenge. If you work in, maybe say in a hospital setup or a school, lunchtime, you go for nyama choma and ugali, that you have done that for the last 20 years. So now breaking that habit becomes very problematic.
True.
Yes. So that's why a lot of people say, diet, okay, I will manage. But once you go to the details...
Actually do it.
Yes. The other thing is now what we are seeing, the lifestyle. Lifestyle, if for instance, you are not used to any physical activity, like going to the gym or walking or using stairs instead of using a lift, okay? Those are again things that you should incorporate if you're not doing there before. And again, when you talk of lifestyle, like the physical activity level, once you are diabetic, your physical activity level or going to the gym should again be sort of be guided, okay? Because you might go to the gym, do 1 or 2 hours, then your sugars come down, you find yourself collapsing. So it should be sort of you're guided. You should do this amount of physical activity for this number of minutes, okay? Yes.
So you heard, if you have diabetes, you don't just wake up and go to the gym. You need to be guided. Thank you very much for that. Now, you talked about the foods that build our immunity.
Yes.
Now, I would like you to kindly tell our viewers what are some of the foods that help us to manage diabetes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. For the longest time, we have had, say, conflicting, actually not conflicting, but people giving information that is not scientifically proven, that does not have any medical basis or nutrition basis. And this has actually put diabetic patients at a very awkward position. Because,
and even at risk.
Yes, at risk. Because you find, so they are not professions, but people who purport to be giving nutrition guidelines to these patients, and they end up telling them, don't eat this, don't eat this, don't eat this. At the end of the day, the diabetic patient is left confused because he or she has been told not to take almost all foods. Okay?
Yeah.
So, when you talk of the foods that you are not supposed to take, that is not the right language. The right language is what are you supposed, no, the amount of foods that you're supposed to take, the portion. Okay? Because let me use this example. Maybe a patient is a plumber. Okay? This person, the work that he does is physically demanding.
Yes.
So the amount of energy that this person requires is more as compared to maybe a clerk who just sits in an office.
Yes.
Okay? So these two people, they are diabetic. How do you tell them to control their portions?
True.
So the clerk the amount of foods that he or she deserves is not as much as the plumber. Okay? So now, if you end up telling the plumber not to eat this, not to eat this, while he's in the site, he'll faint because he will lack that energy. Okay? So, now the amount of food that you're supposed to eat, one, it will depend on the nature of work that you do. If it is physically engaging, you need to eat more times, because you require amount of energy that is more as compared to a person who has a sedentary form of work. Okay? So now the challenge comes in now. This person will ask me, I've gone to the field, you have told me to eat 5 times. I've left my house at 7. Now, where will I get these other 3 meals, 3 additional meals? Now that's why we are saying lifestyle modification. So now if you're going from 7 to 5 in the field, if you are the gentleman, tell the wife to pack
for you.
Food, pack
a
for
healthy
you
food.
a healthy food. Then ikifika saa 4, just
you do the healthy snacking.
Yes.
I now learned.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now those are some of the modifications that you should have.
Yes.
Because now the challenge that comes in with some of these patients is you wake up in the morning, you eat a very heavy meal. Okay? So consequently, that heavy meal will make your blood sugar to spike, to go up. And with diabetic patients, whatever is very dangerous is now the spiking of blood sugar in either June, either chin. That is not good. So we like to have a very smooth curve.
Yes. Smooth curve.
A very smooth curve that will actually reduce the complications. Yes.
So now, the dietary requirements. Okay, let me ask it this way. Most people who suffer from diabetes are discouraged to take a lot of carbohydrates.
Yes.
Could you comment on that?
Well, carbohydrates, they are not the problem. Okay? The problem is the amount of that carbohydrate that you take. And allow me to tie this with, would I say, our cultural orientation. People from, say, central region, compare them to people from maybe coast, people from western or Nyanza. Most meals in centrals, you find that it's mchere, there is viazi, there is cabbage.
Mchele njeri.
So at the end of the day, the whole plate is white. So now that becomes a problem.
Yes.
So now that mchele is not the problem. The carb is not the problem. But how you've mixed that plate now becomes
too much carbohydrate.
Yes, too much carbohydrate. Okay. Why don't you do mchele? Then there we have dengu.
Yes.
Then we have greens there. It is still a good. The satiety value. You'll be full.
Yes.
Okay? But you have not pumped a lot of carb in your body. Okay.
Yes.
So the issue is carbohydrate is not bad, but the amount of carbohydrate that you take now makes the difference.
What about sugary foods? There are people who like sugar, they like sweets, cake. People with, they call it a sweet tooth.
Yes.
Sweet tooth, yes.
When you talk of now the carbs, we have what we call refined and non-refined. Okay? So anything or any food that you take that is refined, no, that is not the best choice for you.
Refined, what do you mean refined?
Refined, let me use like unga, the maize flour. We have the one that is packaged, that is refined,
The white one, the one we like.
Yes.
I want the whitest.
Soft, yes.
Yes, the whitest.
Basically,
the one we don't have those.
Yes. Basically, whatever is done,
yes,
whatever would help you, the minerals in the maize, they usually removed. Okay, so basically, whatever is there, it does not have a lot of nutrition value. So why don't you take that maize, take suakisiagi, have it done as it is? That is not refined. Okay, and sorry to the business community, those who do,
Yeah,
because it doesn't make sense. you take maize, you extract so many things, then you purport to be fortifying the same maize flour. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Why don't you leave the maize as it is?
As it is.
Because it has almost everything that we require.
From what you are saying,
Yes.
It means that the way we have gotten away from our cultural eating practices,
Yes.
the more danger we get into.
Yes.
I thought we are modernized.
No, we are actually becoming a nation that is actually selling that which is good and buying that which will harm us.
My goodness.
Yeah, basically, for instance, I look at, because when we talk of refined, when now you ask any Kenyan somewhere, what is your food? Mchele, ugali, chapo, spaghetti. You know, basically, and even our children, that's
Indomie.
what. Yes, Indomie. That's what. Yeah, that's what they know. Okay, but ask them, matoke,
No.
ndoma,
Githeri. Nah.
ngwashi. That food is natural. It is not refined. Is as it is from the shamba. Okay, so basically, that's what we should now start getting back to. Yes. If you may ask me, the last time I ate yam, I can't even remember. You see, you would rather buy a bread rather than buy yam. Yes. So refined foods, if you can be able to avoid them, the better.
So our young people, you have heard, the refined food, fast foods. Let's go back to our African culture, as
Sure.
we are advised by Mr. Kariuki here. Now, you have taken us through the relationship between carbohydrates
And diabetes. Yes.
And now, of course, when you talk about carbohydrates and you talk about portions, we cannot escape talking about obesity. What is the relationship? Does obesity make things worse or it doesn't affect? What is the relationship?
Well, obesity as a contributor of diabetes,
Yes.
what happens? Obese people tend to become insensitive to insulin. So now, when we were defining diabetes, we said either your body or the pancreas is not able to produce enough insulin, or your body is not utilizing the insulin as it should be. So one thing that makes your body to be insensitive to insulin is obesity. So your pancreas is good, it's producing enough insulin, but again the receptor cells, they are not utilizing that insulin. So you end up becoming diabetic. Okay? So then obesity comes again with, I think it should be a whole topic. It comes again with so many other challenges, from heart problems. There are those cancers that are attributed to obesity, infertility, so many things. So I recall some days back when maybe you would go to up country and you big, people are like, that guy is doing well in town.
Yeah, kama ameoa bibi huyo anafanya kazi. Umeona difference?
Yes. Yeah. And that is very wrong.
Yes.
Because it only shows that something is not adding up. Because how do you develop obesity? Your body, it's like we say, it's like fuel. Food is fuel. So you eat what you are supposed to utilize, not to store. Okay? So now when you start becoming obese, it means you are eating.
Store.
Yeah.
And you are a store.
So you are building a granary inside you. So now, and people start very slowly. You become overweight. The clothes that you are wearing, they no longer fit you. You are okay. It goes to obese level. There are 3 levels: level 1, level 2. And when it is at level 3, now that's when you are rushing to go see a nutritionist. Oh, now I think I'm overweight. You even don't know the difference between overweight and obese. You're already obese, you're not overweight. So already you have gone aboard. And actually, it is very difficult to lose weight. I think if you can talk with people who have tried,
Ask me that story.
most of them give up along the way.
I won't give up.
Yeah.
But as you say,
Yeah.
that's a whole topic by itself.
Yeah.
And I hope that in the near future, we shall be talking about it to our viewers.
Okay.
Now, how does one know they are obese? I mean, if you look at me, you wouldn't tell by, okay, you may tell by looking, but there are people who you cannot tell by looking. How are they able to know? Like you've said, somebody goes to the nutritionist. How does a nutritionist tell you or find out that you are either overweight or obese? I heard you say there are 3 levels of obesity. So how does one know? Can one know by themselves, or can you be guided to know, or you have to go to the hospital or a clinical nutritionist?
Basically, what we do, they are the clinical manifestations. Someone would walk in and you can tell by looking that this person definitely has fat.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Then again, now there is what we call, you examine the patient
Yeah.
just by way of talking,
Yeah.
because there are those people who are actually, like say, the rugby players.
Yes.
You'll see a guy weighing 110 kilos. But that person, you cannot say they are obese, because they have a lot of muscle mass as compared to fat. Okay? So yes, their weight is on the higher side, but their muscle mass is more as compared to fat. You might find another person who is 80, the muscle mass is low, but their fat composition is high. Okay, so that person requires help. Okay, so it's not like you cannot say that there is a bracket. No, you have to look at an individual and what they do. Okay, there are those others who are actually very lean, but what you call, there is a lipid test, again, to look at the cholesterol things. A person is lean, but they have a lot of bad cholesterol, a lot of it. Okay, so again, it's an issue that you look at an individual with what they do, how they eat. Okay, then there are those others who are actually not aware that they overeat. Sure. Like those people who go to the cinemas. A person will take a full bottle, 1 liter soda, and some 2 packets of freaks, all the, what are they called? Yes, those are, the corn freaks. I mean, that person has pumped a lot of calories to their body, and they are not aware. They are just watching, gazing at, no.
They are called popcorns.
Yes.
Popcorns, yeah.
Well, and that is pure carb. Yes. Now that person, maybe they visit the cinema, or like currently when people are at home, people are really doing that.
They are watching movies,
and so
Netflix.
Yes. So that person is not aware. Ask them, how is your eating habit? They have a very good eating habit, very balanced breakfast, balanced lunch, and balanced supper. But in between, whatever they are doing, to them they are not eating. Yes, to them they are passing time.
They are passing time.
Yes.
So as we wind up, in the church setup, we do fast.
Yes.
Once in a while, Christians fast. And what can you advise diabetics in regard to fasting?
Well, it is usually a very tricky balance.
A thin line.
Yes. And I believe our God is a very fair God. So if you are on drugs, for instance, you are on insulin, and maybe you do insulin in the morning, or you are on orals, you do them in the morning, those drugs are meant to lower your blood sugar maybe for the next 8 hours, 12 hours. Okay, we have the short-acting drugs and the medium and the long-term acting. So now, if you are, say, on the long-acting drugs, you take it in the morning, then for the next 12 hours, you will not eat. So that insulin will do its work, but it will be lowering what? Sugar that is not there, because you will not have eaten anything. So what will happen is a condition we call hypoglycemia. Your blood sugars will come down to very dangerous levels, which is below 2, and at that point you will collapse. And it's actually, if you're not given help, one may succumb to that. So it is always good, once you are diabetic, you should snack as much as you're fasting.
Yes.
Then it will depend the progression of your disease. You know, we have the newly diagnosed people, we have those who have had diabetes for a long period of time.
Yes.
We have those who have been able to manage their sugars very well to an extent. They take drugs maybe intermittently. Okay, so now it will depend at which level are you at. Okay, yes, because we have had patients who they are diagnosed, then once they follow a very good plan, they are able to get back to a normal way of life. Drugs are stopped. Okay, so we have those cases. Yes, so I cannot give a very conclusive sort of advice to say that you should fast and you are diabetic, because what you should know is that anything can happen.
Yes.
Because you should not miss your drugs. Again, now here your foods now, they act hand in hand with your drugs. Okay, so if you take your drugs and don't take food, your sugars will come down, which is not good. Okay, so there,
it's a tricky situation.
It's a tricky situation.
Yes.
And I think, you know, God is understanding.
Yes.
You cannot be punished.
Yeah.
Therefore,
I get you. I get you.
Yeah.
So from our talk today, I tend to think that am I right to say that in our walk in life, in as much as we seek advice from our medical practitioners and the doctors, we should do the same even for our nutrition?
Actually, it is an area that people find themselves entangled in. They find themselves when their problems are so advanced. Because I think a nutritionist should not actually come to you when you're sick. Should be with you before you are sick to prevent you from getting there.
Sick.
Yes, because at some point we are left helpless. A patient has had diabetes for 10 years. He has or she has never sought a nutrition. Now they are coming to you when complications are setting in.
Yes.
Their eyes have issues, you know, so many other issues. Now at that point, you cannot be able to revert that condition. You'll only try to manage what you can. Yes. So basically what you should do is, before you feel you are sick, you know, like whatever you eat as a family, be informed. So just don't eat for the sake of eating. Have in mind, what am I eating? What am I putting myself at? Yes. And if you do that, you'll actually find yourself not going to the hospital.
Wonderful.
Yes.
We've learned a lot today. We thank you for coming and and teaching us all you have taught us. And we cannot wind up the program without you reminding our viewers how to be very keen in this dear COVID season and to take care of themselves.
Okay.
They say tahadhari kabla ya hatari. Hadhari.
So as we wind up, I would like to remind you that we have to take care. The Minister of Health has given us guidelines. The Minister Mutahi Kagwe is always telling us that wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands, sanitize, stay at home, okay? Then above all, eat well, because as it starts now, our biggest savior is our immunity, and that immunity is developed by good nutrition. I won't promise that you develop immunity overnight. No. It's a thing that you have to do and make it your lifestyle. Do vegetables, eat fruits, drink water, okay? Avoid unnecessary beverages like alcohol, Things like cigars, avoid them because they are actually working against your immunity. Thank you and God bless you.
It has been a very educative session. We have learned a lot, and we have learned that we should eat well. And eating well is not the amount. Eating well is a balanced diet. And the key thing to everything is immunity. Let us stay healthy because health is wealth. Till next time, God bless you.